some people build businesses, but the real people, they build legacies, they build lives, they listen and they take things one at a time. There are moments in life when God aligns the right people in the right places at the right time. And almost 2 years ago, God did that. He aligned myself and amazing Michael Barnes through Richard Smith Counseling Centers, and just what started a connection of just us kind of just helping people with mindset became free friendship that has no idea that I'm never going anywhere. But we weren't just sitting in session on Zoom together. We were planting seeds. We were healing. We have a passion to help people. And, we stood out because at this moment, Mike and I, we just bringing the conversation to you because we honestly know that change happens when you take a hold of who you are and start loving yourself. We talk about it all the time. So building businesses, building people, this isn't just like a blueprint or a random conversation. Mike is not only a contracting specialist, he's a father. He's a faith builder. He's a man on a mission to help people in his way and to show you what it really means to not just do business, but to live and to be and have a purpose through faith. So in this powerful conversation, I want you to walk away with a few things. So simply how to turn your personal story into a strategy of being the strongest business tool you even have, like even to have faith in a fatherhood, to sharpen your leadership and your legacy, and really how building people is the foundation of building anything that lasts a legacy, it lasts a lifetime. So the one thing I can honestly say, we're just real people. We're not gurus or experts. This is all about heart and passion of conversation and all about helping people. And that's one thing Mike and I connected with Richard Counseling. We literally are trying to get our best versions of ourselves too, but having that confidence and learning how to tell your story, how to be able to be the best version of yourself, regardless of whoever's listening. And Mike will tell me all the time, he doesn't just come to talk. He comes to show you that, hey, if you love yourself, if you just do exactly what you're put here to do, whatever that looks like, just be the best at it. And that's one of the things that I love about Mike. So Mike, come on in here, my friend, brother. Come on, Mike Barnes. Welcome to Live Virtual Conversations, as well as doing this on this amazing Random Acts of Kindness birthday edition. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity and happy early birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And truly doing this conversation and us meeting a few years ago at the right place at the right time, just how you're building businesses as well as people just always stood out to me. As you know, we're always talking in group or what have you. But when you look at that, my friend, we never knew that our friendship was going to root in purpose. Because like I said, you don't even know that I'm not going anywhere. Like you're stuck with me. So what does this moment tell you about how paths cross in regards to just engagement and time?
Yeah. That's odd how the universe interweaves all these relationships and paths. And it's not our first strike. It's not our first tick for, the whole situation. So for the timing of it all, it can't just be, a chance 100%. It has to be somewhat divine, in my opinion. And then the people that, come in lives that really make an impact, you try to bring those quality people into your circle, especially as we get older. We kind of, as people fall out of your life, that circle tends to diminish. You get a little smaller. So you do want to replace those and build those with really quality people. And I think we have a few of those in that group for sure.
Well, I'm talking to one right now because quality is all about, seriously, just who you are as a person and just being authentic in your story or what have you. So why do you think, Mike, like stories like yours and mine, and just want to kind of touch on your story a little as well. I know we were talking offline or what have you about being authentic and just being who we are, love us or not. But yeah. tell me a little bit about your story, how you got here and why even therapy? Because, I know that's one of the stigmas in regards to men and therapy has been impactful for you.
Well, I think authenticity is the most... one of the highest frequencies, let's say, and it's almost one of the highest ones that other people can tell you're being genuine about. So I think being authentic and being truthful on top of love and all that is one of those ones up there that other people can just see right through it or they don't. You know what I mean? And if you could be passionate about that. And how I got here. I was in Dick's counseling program before. I had gone through different phases in my life, different financial situations. One of my close friends introduced me to him that helped him with his license restoration just about 10 years ago. I want to say 15 or 16. It was 2015 or 2016 that when I met Dick Smith. And then I had gone to him for 2, 3, 4 years up until almost COVID. And I took a break and, I've been legal guardian of my mom during this whole situation, this whole time, ever since 2007 or 2008. So between that and my fatherhood, losing everything and just trying to build up my situation because I had to better my circumstances for, at that time, my greater power, my 2 kids who I loved more than myself, and they lifted me up from, a dark place. So, I got there from just trying to get back on my feet.
And so, like, how would you say, that it helped you get back on your feet? Because we talk a lot about doing the work, right? It's not going to work unless you work it, all those little phrases or what have you. But how would you say, just as simple as you showing up, helped you get back on your feet, like the words you just used?
Affirming that you love yourself, showing up for yourself. If you don't, you're kind of giving yourself, your subconscious, a loophole to think that you should doubt yourself when this is where people, especially coming into the group, that we just try to get that. I try to get that out there right off the bat too. And there's not a perfect situation, and you always try for self-improvement. You can't strive for perfect, so you got to love yourself where you're at. And that's hard to do because when you're in a difficult spot, you want to change your situation, and you view your situation. You can identify as part of yourself as that situation, as a failing part of that situation. A lot of people do, as an external part of the reality, when that's not. What you're feeling is not who you are, and your situation is not who you are, but often we identify with that. And it's hard.
And the one thing I can say to kind of stand from that, we're raised that way too, right? We go to school and you get grades. If you get a grade that's an A, you're doing great. If you get an F, that's failing. And what happens when you're failing? You're left behind. You get the whole negative connotation. So the same thing. It's not like we met, on the beach having a great time. So we were at the low parts of our life, is my point. And with community and culture, how important is it to have that type of community and culture when you're going through things to be lifted up with, just with like we did with each other?
Well, I think that's huge. Probably a bigger part of fabric of our society that a lot of the younger generation is choosing to be admitting to right now. Community to ourselves is us policing each other, holding ourselves to a standard, holding our children to a standard, holding our neighbors' children to a standard, helping out our community, helping out people when they're not right in front of their children, saving them from harm, giving them a lesson. All of that has to do with studying from a community. And I think that when you really start caring about with yourself and others, it comes from an aspect of, a higher power, a creator or something, whether we want to admit that or not, is because, who else would we hold a standard to of goodness or of purity or of light or what we should attain to be, so that right there, should be a huge foundation why I found community is so important, why people helping other people in their community is so important, and why we should be putting a huge foothold to try to do that in our communities going forward, because there's just too many people are separated and independent, and it would be so much better if we weren't.
I know, right? And I didn't realize for so long, like, I'm thinking community meant like what giving money or just going and doing the act, but actually the authenticity of what the purpose of your transformation is. Like meaning if I bring my little piece, it might be broken at first, but if I come and just keep showing up and listening, that's the one thing that I know that I've learned a little better in listening to perspective. Because everything in your mind, especially me being an alcoholic and having the mindset of thinking, I'm a Virgo too, that's like a double whammy, like like alcoholic and overachiever. Who does that? So And I say all that to say, one thing I can honestly, and maybe you agree with me or don't, that therapy does for me is give me a perspective, because when you're stuck in your head and you
Remaining
think
as a
that,
student.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Remaining as a student, because when we're younger and when we think we know everything, we don't want to learn anything.
right.
Like I said, if you're not ready to receive knowledge, if you're not ready to receive criticism, if you're not ready to receive critique or something from another person who might know more than you because they care about you or because they're know more about the subject than you, if you're not ready to hear that, you're not ready to receive criticism, and you're not ready to really grow.
So people see you, my friend, like the business contractor specialist and entrepreneur, father, friend, but not the road to actually get where you are right now, because it took work for you to get here. Like, what do you want people to know behind the scenes about the grind that shaped the journey of who Mike Barnes is right now?
Oh, I forget the exact quote, but it's like Carl Jung said, a fool can make a folly so many times until he learns the wisdom to get through it. But
Mm.
I was not a patient person, not born a patient person by any means. And I've learned lessons the hard way, bouncing my head off the walls quite a few times. And this isn't an early, easily learned lesson. This was a hard, arduous, painful process.
Right. Right.
20 plus years on the going. So I've changed who I was. My kids have changed me, and I've been a different person every couple of years, just by the constant growth, not trying to achieve perfection or what I think I should attain, but just working towards growth.
And that's what it's all about, is working towards growth. And so what would you say to someone who feels like, their past or current struggles are disqualify them from creating a meaningful future? Like, just like how you shared, it's been about 20 years of change, right?
Right.
So what would you say to someone that has those struggles and maybe have that fear of changing?
Right. I say this in group, but it's more about that perception of other people being perceived. You know what I mean? And really, when you really, in a couple months after you're gone and dead, and what are people going to say? Their opinions really matter. Right. And if you're talking to anybody in our group or anybody newbie like that, everybody has an opinion. But what are their opinions valued at? I mean, what do you consider people's opinions valued at? I wouldn't take really good advice from someone except where they're where I wanted to be in life. So you have to really accept where you're getting your criticism from and where your opinions are from. I wouldn't accept criticism from or an opinion from someone where they're not at it in life, so I wouldn't accept their criticism either. So you got to really realize that that's part of the perception. And if you're not ready to understand a lot of that stuff, like you said, we have 2 ears, and we should really use them, because other people's perception we could learn so much from.
Right.
And not only just what they know, but what their intentions are. You can see what they're trying to do, and you just listen to them. And a lot of people just don't understand the power of listening and really paying attention, self-awareness.
So tell me this, Mike, like, how do you find yourself now, especially when you have children and being a model in people that you work with or what have you? Like, when people have struggles or problems or even pains, and now that you've shown you're on the other side of them, how do you actually kind of give them that direction and help them, know that it's okay where you are now? Because I know you told me a lot of times,
Yeah.
Oh, you're finally getting to love yourself.
Right.
So finally,
because I went through it such a hard way. It took me so long to just do that when it's that simple. So I've took a long time to do something that's a simple explanation and a simple theory, but it's a worthiness. If you believe that you're not worthy, and it's the same thing. If somebody has gone through trauma, whatever years ago, or they think that they're not worthy of doing something because they failed at something 16 years ago, that's a value issue. It's a worth issue. And they think that they're not worthy of the good results or what's to come, or they might self-sabotage and things like that. And right there, that's a limiting belief. And that's where, like I said, love should replace that. And then we call it different things, but in group, there's the negative thoughts, as we say. You have to be aware of those, and as you be aware of them, You try to positively reinforce the good self-talk. And then as they get less and less frequent, you try to replace it with something positive.
So one of the things that I did used to replace with those negative thoughts was alcohol. Like when I would have those thoughts, when I wasn't reaching the levels that I wanted to reach, when I didn't want to think, that was one of my main ones.
Especially when we're not happy with where we're at.
Exactly. Oh my God, that was
so. That's why I wanted to say that to you at the beginning, is we identify with where we're at and our feelings. And sometimes when we think that's who we are, even though we want to be here, that holds us back, and it keeps us in a recurring pattern of thought and frequency and negativity. Yeah. And it's hard to break out of that, but it's easy to tell somebody, just love yourself. What are you doing? Stop kicking yourself. Stop hitting yourself. You know, it's not that easy to just pick yourself up. It's not. But with someone else next to you, man, I beat the shit out of myself for 20 years. Look at me. I could tell you how bad and how much, but I could tell you, if you just try this, you know, I think Dick's, I saw his video with him. He's talking about 6-minute abs, 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes and I could change your life. You know what I mean? So just if someone would take and just believe, have the conviction to believe, all the people who are in the room might have something really, really good to offer, but there's a common denominator of struggle and pain, and refusing, and when that point of committing to love to yourself. And I think we all have a turning point right then, and it's so visible in each person's behavior, their patterns, their perception of themselves.
Right.
And I mean, that perception can change you from a heathen to a God-fearing person like that. I don't know what they call it in the Bible, but just that simple perception of you lifting yourself up and telling yourself you're worthy of all those things that you told yourself you weren't just a few minutes, even if you're subconsciously, it's so empowering. And it's, like I said, hard to do off the bat, but it takes repetition. That's how we learn as people: repetition and good content.
So tell me, share some of the tips and tactics that you use. Like, for example, the tools and resources I use is going to my training. I call it training camp of my soul, right? I do that daily. I go to group weekly. I make sure that I do my readings 30 minutes a day. I put myself on a plan no longer to have alcohol a part of my equation, because again, I'm an entrepreneur too. So there's no 9 to 5. There's no guarantee of a paycheck. So you have to do the work, and entrepreneurism is one of the loneliest sports in the world. And I'm an athlete, so that means I train hard. Yeah. So what are some of the tools and things that you do? I do affirmations every day. That's the other thing I do too. So what are some of the things that you do to kind of keep Mike in that mental mindset of positivity, even when things and angles come at you?
Yeah. During COVID, I had spent like a month out in Minnesota with some of the people at that Centers of Excellence at Hazelden, and went out there for reasons I didn't need to go, but Lowe's covered it, which was great. It's like $35,000, and it's like the top of the top. It's a privately funded company, and they have the best of the best people with treatments, all that kind of stuff. I think some of the top, rock and rollers and musicians have been there all over the world, and it's pretty revered place. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff that I share with the spirituality and the mentality of that comes spilling over with some of those places. I call, some of those overlapping circles, Venn diagrams, things like that. A lot of those are entrenched in the psychology with all the stuff that I talk about. Mm-hmm. So it's like your feelings, your emotionality, and your spirituality. If you could just improve 2 of those 3, it'll spill over into the other one. There's no way it can't.
Right.
So between that and I say daily affirmations. I talk to a higher power every time I can. So I mean, there's a lot of that, and then I do follow a lot of people that when I go onto the social media stuff like that, I do follow a lot of the big guns in psychology today, and I try to make sure I keep trying to figure myself out, make sure that I'm grounded, like Eckhart Tolle and some of those other big names. So I really try to follow people who promote the positivity and try to make sure that if I get in a negative self-talk or if I get in a negative space, I realize that. And like I said, it's the levels of self-awareness, because you can think that you get to a plateau, but then you can be aware that you're limiting yourself in another way and just open up a whole nother door for yourself. So I think I really preach that too. And I think that's another whole part of, just growing your spirituality to levels you thought you weren't possible and stuff. So.
And one of the things that stood out when you said that is through every decision now. I do something called the 4 Ps, and it's a guy named Mike that actually gave it, so it's not even mine, but pause, ponder, pray, and proceed. So like before, because I'm so wanting to react. We talk about that a lot in regards to reaction. So having those tools that you mentioned, and as well as just having these steps, these are ways that you can actually realize that, hey, let me just slow down a little bit. It's going to be okay. And then address whatever it is, one thing at a time. Like they're really on to something when they say that one day at a time thing. So what's like one of the toughest challenges as like a contractor or an entrepreneur or even a father that you had to push through, and how did you do it?
You just said one day at a time. That's a huge lesson right there. Not living in the past and not living in the future. You have deadlines to meet, and you can be under constant anxiety. You could be under constant remorse or resentment from the things that happened yesterday or last week, or that's happening, like I said, on the other job or something like that. So, as far as the contractors world go, like calming your expectations, having reasonable expectations, and not having crazy expectations is something that can keep your anxiety to a manageable level. Sales with another Fortune 50 company is another thing to do, especially when you have subordinates that don't hold the same standards you do, or you don't have the same, commonality with your customers. And the only thing that, seems that you have in common with your customers is you and him want the same kind of result. Everybody else really doesn't care. So that's a difficult situation to be in, but you get pretty, I don't know. You find you pretty, nice ways to basically make things happen that, you probably couldn't, just overcoming situations, things that you couldn't see, obstacles like that, delivery situations. There's so many things that I've had learned to overcome in the trenches. And that's part of being a student and part of being willing to learn and stuff like that. I talk about that in groups sometimes. It's like, some people get to a point of knowing, like you go right out of school and you think that you just know. And if you spend more time in the learning aspect, I spent most of my life in that aspect. You get all these finite details that reinforce all the other parts of life that, that weren't filled in and stuff like that. So there's just so much good things in real experience. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing about what you said, and I'm smiling, is because you know how like you have the education, you have knowledge, you have understanding, but then you have something called experience.
I don't have education. My kids do. Now I don't. My oldest is trying to throw that in my face. He's trying to tell me I don't know as much as him. He's got an engineering degree.
Like the age. I mean, I'm not sure if like the experience of. Because I look at now at 45, seriously, and you look back at some of the lessons that has been taught to you. People have told you all of these things. I went 12 years before getting my third DUI because I knew what was going to happen. People told me I saw what was going to happen, and look at me. So my point is, like, you have to sometimes go through the experience. You hear it. We can preach all day to people, but if you don't, and sometimes I hate that I'm the one that have to touch the stove, like, oh, okay, dang, it's hot. Okay, maybe I shouldn't touch that anymore. So, so when I look at people with like these Harvard degrees and I have all these titles and things like that, I just honestly, I just smile because great, you did. That means that you were able to accomplish the fact of getting, you accomplished a contract. But life's experience is something that is one of the huge teachers, and learning how to deal with it is how important is mindset is my point. That's what I was trying to get to. So how huge is mindset in regards to this thing called life? Because I don't care about my degrees. This experience here, this is ridiculous.
Life has a way of humbling you, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Life has a big way of humbling you. And
oh my God.
We have cycles, like I said, we've had a few financial scares, a few, like that. And I've lost everything. So that ebb and flow, you can really find out your mettle, and you could really find out your limitations and your thresholds and your depths. You could really find out how strong you are. So it's strange. You could be handed a great hand in life, I suppose. And then, it's all depending on how you deal with that adversity when it comes along, because we all have it.
Right.
But we all have it in different forms. And sometimes to different degrees, and sometimes with different resources, different intelligence capacities, it's and different thresholds of caring. Like some people just don't care, and some people.
Right.
So, I mean,
And then some people care too much.
it
So
depends what you're tethered to. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what are you tethered to? And that's why I said, because life can hit you hard, So
when you say that you lost everything, and I think about that when people say that, and I look at my situation right now, like I know that this is the best experience that's ever happened in my life.
yeah,
But like when I look at when you define, I just love to hear how you define losing everything, because okay, if we're talking about my 6-figure job, my car, my loft, my the flexibility to go anywhere I want, to just all of those things versus where I am now. Honestly, Mike, all of the money and all of the travel and things like this sobriety journey, total opposite. Financially, just the whole, as you know, my flexibility limited. And so I honestly look at the world, and when they throw all these different things, the superficial cars and clothes and all of that kind of stuff, I guess I can say I lost everything too. But I know this is the best. I'm in the best moment I've ever been today than I've ever been in my whole life, and it
yeah,
changes every day. Like,
yeah,
because I'm loving myself now, regardless of whatever looks like on the outside.
yeah.
So when you say that you lost everything, what kind of mindset does that put you in? Because it's so hard for me to even say that now, because I'm so happy, and
There's
people just
balance.
be like,
There's balance, and there's duality in that.
yeah,
There
yeah,
has to be, right?
right,
So if there wasn't your lowest point, I think we
yeah,
say this often too, your lowest point can be the doorway to your highest self. Because
right,
without that lowest point, you couldn't get through that doorway to get to your higher self.
huh,
So you had that duality. Yes, it's struggle. Yes, it's a low point, but you also have positivity on the outcome of that struggle, right?
right,
So you can't have good without bad. You can't have yin without yang. So it's just part of life. There is some good with some bad, but we don't always have to have good and bad, perceive it that way. But yes, I mean, when I say I lost everything, I'm going back to like 2007, 2008. My kids, the mother of my kids, she kind of went off the deep end. She had an addiction problem, and she went to Pontiac, and basically had to take over and get the judgment for my kids. I moved to Pennsylvania. I lost a house within the same couple months. And then that year is when I put my son, my oldest, into first grade, and he had some learning disabilities on the autistic spectrum, Asperger stuff, and they didn't have the same stuff that Michigan had. And I cried myself to sleep. That's my lowest point. I moved down there for the help of my sister, and I didn't know many people down there. I wanted all these things. I went down there for help, and I felt so alone. I felt so I don't know. I don't want to say ashamed, but I felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be, where I needed to be for my kids. You know what I mean? Because I just lost a job. The economy went down. That was right when the housing crisis happened too, in 2008. So a lot of people, right after the bank bailouts and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
So that changed everything. That was a pickup point for me. So I stayed out in Pennsylvania for a couple of years, and I moved back to Michigan. And then I took a job there in Madison Heights doing sales. And I picked myself up from ground zero. So what I have now and everything is from 2011, 2012. So I've literally started my life over at 2012, and it's 2025. So in 13 years, I mean, I have a house. I have a pretty nice house. I have, a nice 401k now, a Roth and an IRA and a couple other investments. But yeah, it's hard to see where that lowest point was a good thing then. I
Right.
was crying myself to sleep.
Right.
I never would think that I would be where I'm at, or I have the potential or the ceiling that I have now back 12 years ago when I was going through it.
I feel you. Yeah, I could say the same because I agree. I would literally for a year
Something held
was
me to
crying
that
every day.
floor.
Yeah. But to be here, but I still wouldn't change it for the world. And I agree with you because yeah, I guess you're right then. Because those are some tough times when and you still don't know the end result. But now I guess with the tools and resources, I have more faith. So you know how like you come up with this plan on what life looks like, and maybe you did this or whatever. You're supposed to get married, you have the two kids, you did you did that part, and then you have the house, the dog. None of that stuff planned out for me at all. Like I'm single with no kids, and and even with just so how I envisioned here into my 40 at 45. That's why I think I'm now so free with because I was like, I didn't design any of this. I don't have, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when I think about like the low and the high points, I think honestly it showed me how strong I can be.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's not that I wanted it to go through it, but I went through it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so the same for
Yeah.
you now seeing 13 years later, which is so key in that because again, what that shows us is what it takes time.
Yeah.
Change takes time.
Well, I didn't do what I wanted to do for the longest time because I was too busy doing what I had to do. I had to just make the bills. I had to do this and I had to do that. I had to cook dinner. I had to get home by the certain time. I had to get the latchkey. I had to do this. I had to pay latchkey $300. It was $300 a week when I had two young kids. I mean, it's more than the mortgage was. It's just it's hard to sustain on yourself. And
so what do you say to those dads out there, those single dads at time, that are trying to be there for their kids, that are still in those tough moments? How do you, what are some words of encouragement for those people? If they're not getting therapy, we definitely encourage it, so they're not alone. But would you say you made it through that?
Right. Well, to finish, I was just the sidetracked, excuse me, but to finish that thought, now when the kids, Nathan's going to be 22, he's just getting a great job. He's going to be getting his master's with his new, job. So that's great. So like my kids and now I can do what I want to do. So I guess what I was trying to get across is like, you do have inclinations from your higher self, from your soul. You want to do something. Your soul's here to want to do something, to learn something, to gain knowledge of how to do something. And you just got to pay attention to those inclinations, maybe helping people like we feel. Yeah. And, so if it makes me feel good, if it makes me feel inclined to do it, if it makes me feel like I'm benefiting myself and the community, being uplifting, and, you want that, it's a great feeling. And, I encourage that. So right now I'm looking for more of what makes me feel good and what I think my higher purpose should be or could be. And what I like and what I think that I really should be doing could intersect, and I could possibly make money doing it as well. So I'm kind of like toying with all those ideas. And it's hard when you're doing what you have to do. I was going to segue that into the next part is like to get to people enjoying their lives. You got to integrate some of that. You got to integrate what you like to do. And it's hard to do that. You have to make time for something you like to do, or something else is going to fill that time, especially when you're a young parent. It's inevitable. Something is going to take that time unless you make that time and allot that time for yourself. And a lot of that is self-care. And I probably am pretty guilty of neglecting myself during a lot of the process. Some of the reasons that I'm probably in the situation and some of the altercations that I've had and, the stuff and the situations with my kids is because I didn't put boundaries up and respect myself, or respect what I needed to do for myself to make myself respect myself to move forward early enough. If I would have possibly done that early enough, look how further along I would have been.
Right.
So like I said, that was a hard lesson just to learn to love, even though I make mistakes. I screw up, I'm human. And, I had such high expectations for my kids and myself and because they're great and I want them to be great. And you don't want them, to not be great. So you have these expectations that sometimes just aren't realistic and unattainable. And you just got to be like, that's fine. We're human. It's fine. I love you. I love myself. And it's hard when it's just you.
Mm.
You know, you tend to, in a result-based world, depend on yourself and blame yourself for the results.
Yeah. And that makes sense. So like, what was one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn about balance, and how did it change you, how you were not only at home but also at work as well? Because I mean, you still are just one person.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when, yeah, like I said, I have such a big emotionality of injustice, or maybe that's just me being a Libra. I don't know. It could be all that.
When is your birthday, Mike?
24th.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Coming up
September.
in September, yeah.
Come on, you were right there. You missed the Virgo angle.
Yeah,
It's
just
right
missed
there.
23rd, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I have a high sense of the justice and things like that, and it's hard for me to wrangle that sometimes. But perspective helps. Realizing when I start sweating the small things, it's part of that self-awareness. Like, how much does this really matter in the big scheme of things? How
Right.
much sweat and salt am I really putting off of my body and investing into this? And is it really giving me something? Am I getting this mad about something that it's really giving me nothing but grief? It's going to give me nothing but grief, and I'm still putting all this energy into this? Why? So
Right.
like, not having the self-awareness to cut that and cause yourself a lot of pain by not being aware that you're producing this cyclical, situation of yourself, putting yourself in a situation that you don't prefer to be in. But sometimes we just do that, and we get in a situation that, we don't prefer it, and we'll drink just to mask, or just to not want to deal with the situation, and then we get through a week, and then we just do it again on the weekend. So it's
Right. That's hilarious.
you have to be aware of what's going on to change it.
Right.
Sometimes we're not, and it takes a police officer to knock on your window and be like, "Wake up! You gotta come with me."
Right. Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
So have you been open and wanting to help people, and wanting them to change, even with your children as yourself, and reach their highest timeline? I know
Yeah.
that we talked about that a little bit as well. How have personal sacrifices and personal struggles that you've been through have literally shaped your calling to even do this with me? Like, I appreciate, seriously, like, because I know when I text you, you was like, you want me to, your story is so impactful. You don't even know the impact you make on me. And I love when you in group are just so authentic, and you're
That
able
means a
to
lot.
pull out in regards to just who you are. And that's honestly one of the reasons I wanted you to do this with me. And I appreciate it, because you're going to help so many people along the way. But how have those sacrifices and struggles literally shaped you to know that, like you said, enjoying this journey to help others, have that calling to help others?
It's hard for me, and it's hard for me to watch somebody that I care about go into something self-induced that they can potentially change, if they have enough self-awareness or wherewithal to want to change that. And me wanting to tell them is not going to help them change it. It's the accepting part. It's them ready to hear it. It's them ready to want that information, or even be accepting of that information, or putting themselves in ability or in the situation to be a student, to understand, to accept knowledge. And if you're not in that situation, if you're a know-it-all and everybody else is causing the problems, or like all the problems are coming from an external source, you're not going to have any kind of internal, reflection that you're going to learn or have any knowledge and stuff like that. So you got to have that right mindset. You have to be in a mindset to always be, a student of, the higher power, of a higher consciousness. And as it goes up each level,
Right.
let's say if we're individuals on a line, as it goes up, you get to a level of our higher consciousness, or our soul, or it goes up like that. And there's an intersection of each person. And I think that's where our consciousness lies. When we have that commonality of intersection, that's where the consciousness of all of us, and you can see it in like the group, and like, we all have kind of like, there's a hive mentality there. And I don't know how it works, but it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And everybody's not as successful in the process. Like, everybody doesn't make it to the end finished goal of, because there is no end goal in addiction in my mind. I mean, it's a lifetime process, just like.
You tell me a psychologist that has successfully fixed somebody. I don't think there's one out there yet.
Yeah, and not one, not one at all. So, like, what
Yeah.
happens when people don't act on their gifts? And in regards to like, they go through the motions instead of building authentic stories, being
Yeah.
raw and being honest. Like, what
I think that
happens to
could be
those?
soul crushing.
Right.
You're not here for doing your purpose. I mean,
Mm,
if you're not doing what your body's calling you to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, imagine how depressing that could be.
right.
If you're just telling yourself no all the time, and then you have to condition yourself to do that.
Oh,
I don't think that's any way to tell anybody, any human, to live. And again, that's self-awareness, but it's got to start with love first. You got to love yourself, and you got to start with, loving yourself that, okay, you might not like where you're at. Let's make attainable progress to get above this point next week, and just show positive, production and not just perfection. Like I said,
yeah.
if I was talking with my uncle, helping him move and stuff today, because he saw this whole task as insurmountable. I've been over there 4 times. We're almost done.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So it's like, if 25 years ago when I had kids, and then 10 years ago when I had everything by myself and I didn't have a driver's license and I lived 3 states away and I didn't know anybody, how am I going to get my kids to school? How am I going to raise kids? How am I going to do this? Well, I have a kid that's now an engineer, and I have another kid that's going to still Dean's List, and she's A+ honor roll student. I made it, but I don't even know how I made it. That's a miracle. I don't even know how I did that. I have no idea how I did that, Adriana. 20 years, I literally don't know how I did that. Baby steps, miracles,
right.
that those things happen. Networks, people come into your life, magical people come into your life, and sometimes they just serve a purpose. Sometimes I think that Dick uses me as, the Archangel Michael. He's just like, okay, Mike's got a fucking story for you. And
Right. Right.
Or sometimes he can see me boiling, and I could be like, this guy, like some people who are just forced to come there. And then when they try to start belittling the group because they're forced to come there, I don't mind if they're forced to come there and they don't like it. But when you start projecting the belittling at everybody else, that's when I project out. That's when the injustice comes out. You can
right. Right. That's hilarious. But that's the crazy part about it.
Knowing me and then using his, he uses his, attributes of everyone to his benefit.
Right, exactly. And knowing everything about us all the way through the team. So
Yeah.
You got to love Dick for that. Was there ever a point that you wanted to walk away from the fight, from all of it? And how did you bring yourself back to it? Like,
oh man. When it first started out, before I even left for Pennsylvania, that was hard. I had to spend like 3 or 4 weeks out at Adams Pratt Law Library. I did my own custody judgment. The formula for the child support had just changed. I had to move. I had to pay for all that. I lost a job. I mean, like I said, it was the bleakest.
right.
So it's hard to say that to someone else's story, though. Everybody else's story, especially when they get in a situation, they're like, it's not going to happen to me, or that's not going to happen to me. People get, so it's hard to, it's like I said, with that struggle, it's even hard to even put it into a mindset from today, because it seems like lifetimes ago of who I was lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, some of those memories only served me to identify with who I think I am now. You know what I mean? And that's it gets deep and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Well, I know you're amazing. So what you think, I'm not sure, but what brought you back to clarity and determination? Because that's the Mike that I see. I see that, someone that has been through different layers of life, but that's what you give. That's what you project in group. That's what you're projecting here today. Like the determination, you might not have it all figured out, but just having the determination to show up and to be the best Mike. And that way, being honest with the confusion, being able to listen to the different perspectives. So, and I say all that to say, like, if you hadn't leaned into entrepreneurship, right? And storytelling and sharing your story in group and being and looking, standing up for Dick in those belittling moments, because those do happen.
Mhm.
What do you think your life and the lives you connected with and connected to you, what do you think that would look like today?
A lot different. Like it was, I had to make a choice to come and do this. I'm kind of a hermetic person. I don't go on very much social media. I don't go on, so it took me a conscious choice to sit down and do this with you
And I
and
appreciate you.
understand that I could be perceived by the world. But then like I said, you try not to care.
Right.
But I want my impact to mean something, and I want it to mean good things. So I don't just want to, I just want to throw it out for people who don't want to hear it, to misuse it, to not understand the value of it.
Right.
Crossing the people that we come across and the time that we come across them is probably, you don't know what you mean to that person, like you said, or you don't know the impact of what you're saying or how you're saying it.
Right.
And sometimes I take great opportunities in the meetings to something just pops in my head. I'm like, this is a great time to reiterate or just come and make a foundational, come back to this point, especially with love. With love, it begets everything. So it could start with the love. I saw that, like I said, the last question with my darkest moment. And then, that was back probably right before then I moved. And it's hard to see myself there, but if it wasn't for my kids, I couldn't lose for them.
Right.
Once I became the mother and the father, and I wasn't just the guy making the money for the household, and I had to be everything. I had to be a nurturer too. Then I couldn't fail. Then it changed my whole perspective. So that's different now that they're their own people and they're young adults. And now I want my higher power to be, I don't want to, pedestalize money or anything like that. I want my higher power to be helping people, helping community, supporting community. But in doing that, you have to help people that want to be helped, because if you just start preaching at the mountaintops, people are just going to throw rocks at you.
Exactly.
There's judgment in society today. So it's hard to find people with a welcoming ear. And I find that Dick's a perfect platform for that. I wish I had more opportunities to find like-minded people at not even my level or my capacity for whatever, but they're just in the spectrum of wanting to be a student and learn and improve yourself, because it doesn't really matter where you're at. I can take 5 minutes and have some patience and come back and explain some things. If you don't have to have the knowledge, I don't mind that. That. But just be a jerk about it. I don't, yeah. But I think that we do come across people in important ways for important things. And I didn't know the value and the weight. And it's weird how it all interweaves and the network all works together. But it plays in other people's lives, because we all have things that we're pulling the strings. And it's crazy to have the thought that all these millions and billions and millions of strings all intersect and they all have meanings in other people's lives. And it's
you have no idea, like after how many times that I've actually just sat and pondered some of the things that you shared. And it's given me the comfort of knowing that, first off, I'm not crazy. And number two, like, it's okay. Like, you just numerous times, I'm not even just pinpointing one, numerous times. And I'm so thankful, like I said, for you to even just, because I know how you feel about social media. So, because I remember you saying that, but I honestly wanted to have this conversation because, you are authentic, Mike, and your story is you. It doesn't just being here. And I wanted you to touch real quick before we wrap up, because I do want to respect your time and almost at the top of the hour. In regards to self-care, men, like, what does that look like for a man? Us, we'll go and get pampered, we'll go get nails done, get the spa day. What does a self-care day look like for yourself, that you're trying to do better in doing?
Right. So you got to respect, your body. Your body's what's going to keep you here. But like I said, the most important thing comes from your higher power, your soul, what's your, the frequency that you're here for. So you got to respect the temple that it's in. So, I try to make sure I get good sleep, decent sleep. I'm not young by any means. I get 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe on a good day. I try to take a nice walk. I enjoy nature. I spend some of the time, I don't have a verbal conversation, but when I meditate, I spend a lot of that time walking and talking with God, higher power, universe. And sometimes the answers come. Sometimes, I really think that I might be talking to another person, or maybe that person's answering. And but connecting with nature, and again, overlapping those little circles that intersect your emotion and your spirituality, and it'll change some things. And focusing on you, prioritizing yourself instead of prioritizing a corporation that doesn't care about you, is what I really focused on. I have plenty of projects around the house, but I have prioritized myself, my health, my diet, my exercise.
There you go.
Calisthenics. I wish I didn't lose so much of my face shape. My face is the first thing to go when I start losing weight, but I'm already starting to get my six pack and defined muscles back. And
I'm gonna be out here walking around ripped.
I'm going to be 50. It's going to be 4 weeks away.
That's crazy. Are you doing something amazing for your 50th?
I don't have anything planned.
Oh my gosh, Mike.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm trying to keep it low key. I'm not trying to do anything. Yeah.
Look, I'm so limited right now. I can't even say anything, but send you a Zoom call. I got
a passport, but I also got a lawyer. So, I got to see the lawyer thing through. And the other lawyer that took my money and didn't do what he said he was going to do, I'm still looking for that money back. So, I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to go to Europe, and I wanted to go to a couple places. Maybe Spain or one of those. Yeah, it sounded pretty cool, but I don't know if it's the time to do it.
You turned 50 once. I'm gonna say it out loud. You turned 50. My business partner just came back from Madrid, Spain, and you gotta go. You gotta go. Just go.
I want to go too.
Just go. You turned 50 one time. The lawyer is gonna be here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I guess now I know what I'm gonna be texting you all the way up to the 24th. Okay, cool. So encouragement to do that. All right, so I do want to do the top 8 before we wrap up. Just something fun in regards to just different questions and things like that. So the first question is for your superhero character. If you could be any superhero character, mine is Flash, because I'm a Delta, right? Delta is sorority, and that was my line name, Flash, and in and out of time. It's literally me. Like Flash is me all day. But if you could pick one superhero character for yourself, what would that character be and why?
Superheroes. I'm not big into that one. I never was a big, I had some comics growing up and stuff like that, but I never was a DC versus Marvel guy or anything like that. You know what I mean?
With the last guy actually answered Lone Ranger, so it doesn't have to be DC Marvel comics or anything. So it could be anything that you consider a superhero.
Yep.
That was a pretty good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lone Ranger is pretty good.
Right? I thought it was too. I thought that was a pretty good idea. But that was my Flash.
I kind of like Iron Man. I kind of like the flying and all the superpowers with the suit. Okay. I know that I'm probably at heart just a human guy that's pretty frail and probably not the strongest heart, but I wear a suit like I do, like I'm impenetrable, and you know what I mean?
Right. I know, right? I love it. I love it. Okay, now if there could be one food that you would eat all the time, wouldn't matter in regards to weight or anything like that. Mine is watermelon, because I keep it simple and easy. I'm gonna eat some after we get done. But what would be that one food that you would eat all day, every day without any type of hesitation?
I'm a chicken guy. I don't know. I can eat chicken in all types and shapes and forms, but I like steak, but every day. Yeah.
Fried chicken, rotisserie chicken, baked chicken, grilled chicken, just all of it. Just yes. Yeah. Just all of it. KFC is your guy, like.
No, I'm not big on the fried chicken. I could take it or leave it. I do enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I can throw it in the oven.
I love it. So, where are you from? And where do you call home now? You know me, I'm from Detroit. What up, though?
Yeah.
But for yourself, what about yourself?
I was born in Bon Secours in Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's Henry Ford or whatever the heck that's called now, Allegiant or whatever. But yeah, I've been here most of my life. From there, we lived downriver in a city called Flat Rock, and that was like Telegraph in Gibraltar. I lived like right on the corner there. It was a huge, like 150-year-old house. We had like 14 rooms, huge heating bill. It was nice. And then we moved to Fraser, and then from there I started high school. I think I was 10 years old when I moved. So like maybe fourth grade, third grade, right in the end of middle of third grade or something like that. So I've always been a Michigander. And when I did my stint over in Pennsylvania, I only stayed there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
So I came back by 2011 or something. So it's like right after that first, economic crisis, the housing crisis there.
Okay, I like it. So Michigan for life, got it. No worries. Not for life. Maybe.
I wouldn't mind dual city. I maybe Florida or someplace out west. We'll see.
I like it.
Yeah, it's getting cold, and like the joints are kind of cold in the middle of February here. It seems nicer in Florida or Arizona or something.
I feel your sentiments 100%. My friend I talked to earlier he's in Tampa, and I was like, oh, he had short sleeves on with 57 degrees here. You know what I mean? These little things that we go through. But so my next question for you. Say it again.
My uncle has a place in Bradenton. I did one of the meetings I did from his condo in Bradenton. It's on a PGA golf course. Pretty nice.
Oh, that's nice. That's amazing. So my next question in regards to which I'm encouraging you to go to Spain, but what's one of the favorite places that you traveled to and why? Mine is in Toronto, and I was living up there, managing my cousin's foundation. I love Toronto. I don't like the weather, but I love the city. What would you say your favorite?
I do love Canada. It's like part of the Great Last Frontier. All the way from the East Coast, all the way north, all the way around to the other part of above Wisconsin. I'm sorry, above Washington or something like that. I've only
been to Vancouver and Montreal, and I've
been to London up there. I've been to Sarnia. I've been to a few places up there, and I always thought it was gorgeous.
Right.
So yeah, I love the country up there, and I'm a woodsy guy, camper. I used to love camping when I was younger. So those dunes up there are really good, really nice. I used to love sitting up there in Sarnia, camping with some good memories with my sisters and stuff like that.
The 403, can't forget the 403 with Sarnia. That's right there. Yeah. And so tell me, what's your favorite place for travel? Like, where would your favorite place you traveled to and why?
I do enjoy Florida. Some of those traffic lights are long during those winter months. A lot of people down there.
Right.
I do enjoy Nashville. I have some friends there, family that are right outside Nashville, Hendersonville, and some of those parts. But that's a time thing too. I went there last year around August, and it was, we went kayaking a lot. But it's 105, 110. It's out there,
Yeah.
So it's all about when. I've been to Maui. Maui's pretty cool too. If you can, if you have somebody that's that you can stay with. It's pretty pricey otherwise. It's long flight. It's
long flight.
Lahaina can be expensive if you stay on the touristy side of it. So I love that. It's changed a lot, I'm sure, with the fires that just happened down there. So I mean, a lot of that's different. Even the way that some of the things are growing, the pineapple fields, all the stuff that I was there. It's been 10 years, so it's changed a lot.
That's When I went a few years ago when my business partner turned 50, and so I was in Maui, and it was amazingly beautiful. Like I just love traveling. I've been to 48 out of the 50 states. I only got 2 to go. I got North Dakota. Wow. I know, right? I only got 2 left. North Dakota and Oregon. So, which are both on the West. So when I get December 21st, 2025, those are the first things on my to-do list is to knock those 2 states out so I can have my 50 done. So my next question for you, my friend. So in regards to like a book or a movie that helps out with mindset, do you have like a book that stands out for you that you enjoy reading, or even a movie that kind of helps you as well?
Yeah, I got a bunch of those books either gifted to me, given to me, How to Think Like a Millionaire, How to Act Like a Millionaire. PhD for people, I mean, without going to school, like, a lot of those business books, Millionaire Next Door, a lot of those mindset books, and a lot of things with money. I think we're really uneducated when it comes to finance, and I think that's designed that way.
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
so too. Mine is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was literally the reason, is because it taught you how money works, and it's not taught in the schools. And and Robert Kiyosaki and his, just kind of giving that insight. Financial education is one of the things that is just not taught, but we have the expectations. You got credit, you want to get a mortgage, you need to get a house, how to maintain your bills, how to live. No. But they don't teach you that in school. Isn't that how crazy?
I mean, I just realized or learned the rule of 72 like in the last 5 years. Like I knew about investments.
Right.
I've known about risk and reward. I've known about like your return and things like that. But never an easy formula like how long it takes to double your money. Like that's that simple.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also your 20-20-20 breakdown of what you should say, what you should spend, and what you should budget. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're not taught that at all either. But my kids both have a leg up in that regard. I did beat that into their head. They both started out. I put them on my credit card is that's one of my hacks as authorized users, and I did not give them a card, and that just moved their score to an immediate like 750. So give them credit and then teach them about credit.
I know that's right. And that's the amazing thing too, is that's the only way that change is going to happen is if we start teaching people. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing these live conversations. But for anybody that doesn't know what the rule of 72 is, the formula that is popularly used to estimate the number of years required to double the invested money at a given annual rate of return. So you can literally Google it. So what's the main thing about Google? Google it now is like the new gin, so forget alcohol. That's my new gin. Google it now. You can't go around here acting like you're ignorant. So my last two questions for you, my friend, if you could tap younger Mike on the shoulder and give him a piece of advice, what would that advice be that you would actually kind of help him after all the experience and things that you've had?
The investing. If I would told him all the stuff that I've learned in my growth spiritually and stuff like that, he wouldn't have listened to me. I would have had to make an instructional series. You know what I mean? It's not,
right.
If I'm just telling him one or two sentences and I'm jumping back in my time machine, I'm telling him what to invest and how much and when. But it's something simple. Even if you S&P that's been an 8.5% return, and like even if you invest in the flat stock market, there's ETFs that you can go, either the Vanguard or something like that, a flat SPF for S&P, and it's hard to lose if you just you got a 7,500 each year for an IRA, or you can max it out with 20,000 for 401k. And my last job, I was with the employee. I had an incentive employee plan, so they gave you a 15% discount on stocks.
Right.
So I take advantage of that. So that pays out every 6 months, and I would get like a 25% return every 6 months. Now I don't know. This is again not taught, because I don't know any CD that's giving you 25-30%. I don't know any 6-month investment that's going to give you that. And then I would turn around and buy stocks, or take that 15% and buy, a VOO or SPY, or, you know what I mean? Something that's going to give me a good high rate of, a return where I can, compound that and use the drip to reinvest that into that, or something else. Me and my buddies were talking about that. I try to say that having yourself is, with friends, people, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And some of these guys made a killing during COVID. I had a guy that was a national vendor. He sold masks and hand sanitizer. He bought 300,000 units and sold $6 each pop. He was a millionaire before he went back into the real estate game. And my other buddy was like, "We're buying Visa and MasterCard." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And if you look at it, it's gone up 200% because everybody was spending online. Everybody was buying on Amazon. And what were they using? They were using Visas.
MasterCard. Yeah.
Man.
I wish I would have thought about I wish I would have done so many different things.
I would have
COVID
told young Mike
time.
about Apple. I would have told young Mike about NVIDIA. I would have told young Mike about a few things. But yeah,
And it's so
just
funny. I was
simply
talking to a guy
investing.
earlier today, and he literally brought up the movie The Matrix. You know, that movie came back in 1999. And
Crazy.
The Matrix, you remember the red pill and the blue pill?
Yes.
That's literally, if you go back and look at it, that's AI. That's art. Like that was the beginning of AI in the whole artificial intelligence game.
That lady was ahead of her time. She wrote Terminator 2. And I'll tell you what, I still see so many similarities with the Oracle. And she had the Latin writing above her doorway.
Yep.
She offers him the cookie. Like, oh my God. Like,
Golly, like even the book
it's so many
1984.
levels of reality. It's so many levels of thought of what you can do with the chances of the possibilities of this happened like 16 times before. And then, yeah, it's amazing. It's like you really have to think about it, though.
It's crazy. The book 1984 by George Orwell. He literally, you know how Alexa is in the houses and things like that. Like he called it. He called it. But
they could have made it because of Orwell. They could have been like, that's what we're doing.
Right. Just tell us what we're. Can you just let us know you're going to wait 40, 50 years later and then we go figure it out gradually? And we're not even at the point that's in 1984, that's crazy as heck. But the last question for you, my friend, you know, in regards to like who you are, everything that your experience that you've evolved into, if you could define yourself in one word, you know, my word is resilience. I do like a one word legacy wall. So if you could define like in regards to just what makes up Mike's brand? What do you want people to actually know you by? What would that one word be, and then why?
Yeah, it's a similar word. I think resolve.
Resolve?
I think I've learned to do things that I find uncomfortable or distasteful, and just keep my head down and just power through it, and enjoy the things that I do like doing. But you know, you got to prioritize the things in a rate of the things you need to do in the way and speed you need to do them. And I don't know. I think that people can get, you know, be guilty of, you know, just getting frozen or not wanting to make a choice or not wanting to make a bad choice. So don't let that, you know, hold you up.
And I want to end it with this. You know, my friend, I truly appreciate you just taking your time here this evening, doing this random acts of kindness, this live virtual conversation with me for my birthday. And honestly, Mike, I need you to know that the impact that you make, the change in just the authenticity of who you are, it doesn't go unnoticed. And your friend over here from Detroit, Michigan, what up, though, Adrian Mays, you're stuck. Unless you change your number. But you're seriously, I truly appreciate the friendship that's growing, that we're learning through loving ourselves. Yeah. And you know what's the great thing is I applauded you for taking just a little bit of time in between work and just loving on Mike a little bit. And I say all that to say, I want you to, you know, any final words that you would actually want to leave here today, because you are the definition of fatherhood, of entrepreneurship, of faith, of friendship, of mentorship. You know, it takes a lot to be who you are. And I see you, my friend. You're stuck, and God gave it to you. I'm sorry. It just came in this package. It looks like me.
Took a lot of humility to accept that. Because I like when you asked me to come on the other day, I'm like, I don't know if me and Dick should do the one segment together. Or did you ask the wrong person? Did you ask the right? I thought you asked the wrong Mike. You know what I mean? So it's very humbling, and it's very, I don't know. I cherish you, and I want you to know that. But it's very uplifting to know that you think that much of me, to know that you've actually listened to the stuff that's spewed out of my mouth in different ways, at different tones, at different yelling variations, you know, over the years that we've known each other. So it's so nice that you've noticed that I am passionate about that, and how much you've noticed that I've you know, wanted to help myself and share that help with the people that I care about. And ultimately, you are one of those people. Yeah.
Well, my friend, thank you. And I'm gonna definitely let you get back to your evening. And like I said, you're stuck. And so if you ever want to come back, because I know that, you know, we help one person along the way. I don't get caught up anymore. Like at first I was like, oh, I got to figure out ways to go viral. I got to figure out how to get more people to carry on this message. It's not going anywhere as long as I make sure I keep it live. So this whole message, the words that we share every time I do a live conversation, I don't care if no one shows up because we show up. But what I do with that afterwards is making sure that it gets in the right rooms. If I'm in a conversation, because that's how I connected you with Zach, right? You never know how we might need each other along the way, and I want to be that person that if God is going to use me as a middleman,
Yeah.
use me.
It's good to have that number in my phone, and I have a few friends like that. I don't always call those people, but it sure is nice to have the circle of friends where you call somebody up and you can leverage their resources and utilize mutually beneficial situations to both of their benefits. And I think that's what it's about: people helping people, uplifting each other, and actually having the wherewithal to want to actually help someone else and not just be greedy and caring about the almighty dollar. I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, that's all we have is other people, other connections, and that's why we're here, to help other people, other connections, and people that we care about. So that's what we should care about, is the people.
I appreciate you, my friend. So thank you so much. Don't hang up. I want to do your testimonial because I've learned now to do it for the people and not ask you to send it to me. So let me just do this wrap up real quick, and then I'll get that from you. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Barnes, Michael Barnes, however you want to actually say, my friend, my brother, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. This is the best idea to do for your birthday. Some people like to have parties or set dinners. I like live virtual conversations. I am truly enjoying every single one of the individuals that say yes in the conversation. And like I was just sharing with Mike, if I find someone that might need a helping hand, or someone that something that Mike would actually be able to help with, it's all about us helping each other. And if God is using me for that purpose, sign me up. Thank you. So I hope that you truly enjoyed this conversation here today of a story of faith, of friendship, of fatherhood, of entrepreneurship. Mike is so authentic and humble, and it makes me, his gratitude list is level to me is so high because he is humble in who he is. He knows his story. He knows where he's been. He knows where he is now and where he's going. But the great thing about knowing your story, everybody has one. Everybody has one. And getting to your why is being the best version of yourself. Yes, it might take therapy. It may take, like he explained in his story, over 12 years to be able to get to the next step. But the time and the effort that you put into it is so worth it, because again, you don't know what's on the other side of the best version of you until you get to work. So like I said in the last episode real quick, and I'll end with this, is, the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. And I got that from one of my friends in one of my training camps for the soul. So keep doing the work, keep going. And I am enjoying every single one of these conversations. I hope you're enjoying them as well. So even if you watch the replay, so just drop in the comments love and if you need any help, if you need therapy, if you need direction, DM me, make a comment or what have you. I literally am an open book. I've decided that God is going to let me be my authentic me. So if I'm on this billionaire journey, why not help everybody on the way? So that's what I'm going to do every single day. Michael Barnes, building businesses and building people, a story of faith, fatherhood, and friendship. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. at Mary Grant is going to be on at 12 p.m. And we're going to the storytelling. My auntie, she's going to share in these opportunity of random acts of kindness. So at 12 p.m. noon, that's the one I have scheduled because I do have a photo booth event tomorrow as well. So please continue to support the initiative. Leave comments in regards to the growth of the 46 Random Acts of Kindness, this live virtual conversation with Adrienne Mays leading up to September 6th. These real stories, real people, real results. That's how we're proving kindness is real in the world. And you know how we end every one, my friends. I can, I will, I shall be victorious. What up, though, Detroit? Thank you so much. See you soon. Deuces.